My name is Scott McDaniel. I'm principal of Klahowya Secondary, and we are so pleased to have you with us this evening. So thanks so much for joining us. We've got a lot of staff here in attendance as well. Here in just a minute after I get started with the introductions, I'm going to pause because I want them to unmute and introduce themselves. I'm sorry, you guys. I didn't tell you I was going to do that, but I'm going to do it. And so we're going to start off. Let me get my screen set up here. Always takes me just a minute. As we get started tonight, I do want to let everyone know that I am recording this meeting. And so with that, we're hoping to be able to post the meeting for any families that might not be able to make it tonight. So the recording that we will post will be me talking with the slides. And so with that, I have turned off your ability to unmute yourselves. At selected moments, I'll undo that so I can hear a few people. But if you have questions during the presentation tonight, I would ask, please type them in the chat. I have some staff members that are looking at those, and then we'll pause and be able to get to those questions as we move forward, or they might just respond to you while we're going. So with that, I want to welcome you to our incoming 6th grade presentation for both our students and our families. And so I don't know if you guys know it, but you are the class of 2028. It's kind of exciting to say that for the first time. So congratulations and welcome to Klahowya. So with that, we're going to go ahead and get started. A couple introductions. So first, I'm Scott McDaniel. I'm principal of Klahowya. And I have been a middle school principal for a long time. This is my first year at Klahowya as Klahowya's principal, and I'm super excited to see this batch of 6th graders come into our school next year. Megan Rubman is our current assistant principal, and Megan will be transitioning over to Fairview next year, and so we'll have a little change in faces, but she is with us right now. John Mullich, if you're out there, I think I saw you a second ago. Do you want to introduce yourself? If I can figure out how to unmute you. Uh-oh. There you go.
Okay, yeah, I think you can hear me now, Scott?
Yep.
Yeah, okay, my name is John Mullich, assistant principal, and this is going into my 3rd year. So this is my 2nd year at Klahowya, and so next year will be my 3rd year. Looking forward to seeing all you guys.
Thanks for being here. And I don't think that Lauren McDaniel's here. You can unmute yourself. Lauren is our high school athletic director. So she doesn't do a lot with our middle school students necessarily, but she's an essential member of our administrative staff. So Lauren, if you're out there, feel free to unmute. And Megan, if you're here, you can unmute, but I don't think Megan is attending this presentation this evening. So our admin team is pleased to meet all of you and glad to have you here this evening. In addition to that, we have a number of people in the main office. Jody Dino takes care of us, and right now she's filling in as our office manager. I think it's important for you to know who you're calling, because most of the time when you call the main office, these are the people that are picking up the phone. And so Terry Calentine is our assistant principal secretary. She's right out there in the main office. She's also one of the people that meets you right at the front door when you come in and is there to help you. And then Cheryl Torgeson is our ASB bookkeeper, and she's the person that takes all the money. And so these 3 ladies do an excellent job in the front office. They are also the people that when students have a little boo-boo or they've got a bloody nose, things like that, they are the first responders. And so they're there to help. And so our students know them well for their assistance because they do a great job helping out across the board. And Jody, Terry, or Cheryl, if you're here, I don't think they're here tonight, but if you are here, I'll pause to give you a chance to unmute. Okay. In addition to that, we've got some wonderful counselors. And so Lori Lydiard is pictured here. She's not able to attend this evening, but she has students with alpha or last names starting with A through G. And then I'll pause. Kristen, do you want to unmute yourself and introduce yourself?
Hello, welcome. I'm Kristen Langeth, and I'm one of your counselors. And I'm so excited that you guys are going to join our Klahowya family next year. It's just so fun. So welcome to the family. And I serve students with the last names H through PE. So if your last name starts with HIJKLMNO and the first part of P, you are mine. So welcome.
Thank you very much. And Miss Varnum, are you out there? Do you want to unmute and say hello?
I am here. Can you guys hear me all right?
And away they go.
Excellent. I work with students whose last names begin with the letters P, F through Z, and I want to welcome all new Eagles to the nest. We can't wait to have you here with us next year. And it's so fun to see all these names I recognize. So many of you who are joining here tonight have an older sibling who currently attends Klahowya, and that's always fun to meet our younger brothers and sisters as they arrive at the school. So welcome and thank you for being here this evening.
Fantastic. I also want to reference James Miles. He's our career counselor. He does a lot of work at the high school level, but he also occasionally dips down to the middle level working with our 7th and 8th graders as we prepare for high school. But you'll get to know him as you get further into your schooling at the school. So before I go on to this next slide, I'm going to pause just for a minute. We have a few other staff members here with us. And so I just want to pause for a moment and see if they want to introduce themselves. I'll give you a minute to see if somebody wants to.
I will go.
Go ahead.
Hello, future Eagles. My name is Todd Winters. I am a teacher / coach. I've done many things in my time at Klahowya. I've been here since the school opened in 1997. So don't know what next year looks like, but I look forward to meeting you. I love working with 6th graders. So welcome to the family.
Thank you, Mr. Winters.
And I would love to introduce myself if that's okay. My name's Brenda Costello, and I teach 6th grade English language arts and social studies. And I'm really excited about you guys coming on up and being back to school. Sounds like 5 days a week. So super excited to meet all of you. Welcome to Klahowya.
I'll jump in. I'm Jennifer O'Boyle, and I'm actually here as a parent tonight, but I also look forward to seeing all of you 6th graders next year. It's always fun in the fall seeing everybody coming in. So my daughter won't show her face right now, but she'll be there next year.
That's fantastic. Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to go to this next slide. I wanted to start off by talking a little bit about next year. I know this year has been really strange. We started off in full remote. Partway through the year, we got to come back to school, but it was just like a taste. I think all of our staff are just yearning to be back to normal. I think our kids are yearning to be back to normal. And here's what I have to tell you. We are planning for a full return to school in the fall. Okay, so everything that I'm talking about tonight is presuming that we are going to be back on campus. And what that means is that we're planning for 5 days a week with full school days. So I just want to put it out there. That's what we're going to be talking about tonight. Okay. Now, before we get to the fall, the rules are probably going to change several times. So I hate to say what the rules are even right now, but I've got to do it because they're probably going to change several times before we get to August. Right now, the plan is that in the social distancing world from OSPI, they are asking in classrooms that students are 3 feet apart. And when we get to areas like lunch and other spaces, hallways, that we're still trying to maintain 6 feet. My guess is as vaccinations continue to take place and as things progress over the summer, likely these rules will probably change by the end of summer. So I'm not presuming anything yet with what it's going to look like. I think we need to wait until we get further into summer. The other piece, the big question about masks. And so right now on all CKSD property, we are still wearing masks. We'll see what happens as we get to the fall. And so I've heard some people say, oh, we'll probably start out with them, but then maybe we won't have to wear them. I'm really hopeful we just don't have to wear them anymore. I mean, just plain and simple. We need to be able to talk to each other and see each other and interact and have fun. So know that we will keep you in the loop as the summer progresses, but we are planning to come to school 5 days a week in regular classes and doing our regular program. So I wanted to put this out here right away so that you had context. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing just for a moment. And Miss Barnum, I know you're watching the chat. Do I have anyone that has any questions at this point? And I'm going to go through a ton of stuff. So I'm not seeing any there. So what I'm going to do is reshare
Sorry,
now.
nothing yet on the chat. Sorry about that. I was having a hard time finding my unmute button. So we're good so far, but families and students, if you put something into the chat, I will look for the nearest opportunity to share your question or concern. And I know that Mr. McDaniel will offer plenty of time for questions.
Okay, so here we go. I've got a little video for us that'll kick us off. It helps explain kind of what we do at Klahowya. Uh-oh. You guys can't hear that, can you?
Oh, no sound on our part. Try it again.
I know what I did. It's the danger of playing music at the beginning of the presentation is that I turned the volume down on the music player. So I have to fix that real quick.
Hey, fifth graders, how many times has this happened in the last 14 months? About 1,000 technical difficulties, right? We just roll with it.
Okay, here we go. Let's try it again.
In Chinook jargon, it means welcome. This is your new home. We welcome you to our hallways, classrooms, fields, and most importantly, our family. Yes, it is bigger, faster paced, and even sometimes confusing, but it is a tight-knit community, and we all look out for each other. It is a place where you'll spend the next 7 years of your life, and a place where you'll create lifelong friendships. We are Klahowya. Welcome. What will my schedule be?
Hello, future Eagles. I'm Mrs. Langeth, one of your counselors, and I will be answering the question, what is my schedule going to be like at Klahowya? Well, you will have 6 classes: English, Social Studies, Math, Science, Eagle 101 or PE. One will be first semester, one will be second semester, and then your elective that you chose, including band, unified arts, or orchestra. Partway through the day, you'll have a short academy time where you get to get extra help from your teachers or finish your homework up for the night. And then, of course, there's lunch in the middle of the day. We wouldn't want to forget lunch. Your counselor will design a schedule for you, and you'll get to pick it up during Flight Path in August.
How will I find my classes? Where do I get my schedule? What if I get lost?
I'm Mrs. Simmons. I teach 6th grade math and science and AVID class. The first day of school, you're going to go straight into the gym, and there'll be people to show you where the gym is, where you'll pick up your schedule. From there, there'll be a map on the back, and people can show you where to go for your first period class. If you get lost, ask any adult, and we'd be happy to help you. And the web leaders will be around the building also. They'll be able to help you too.
Where do I put my stuff since Klahowya doesn't have lockers?
I'm Mrs. Davison, and I am a math and science teacher here at Klahowya. You're going to get a set of books that you will keep at home for the classes that you have here at Klahowya. And then we also use digital books on our Chromebooks. And you're only going to keep the necessary supplies in your backpack. So your pencils and pens, your lunch, your Chromebook, and maybe a book from the library. And try not to overload your backpack and let it get too heavy. If you have PE or you do after school sports, you'll also get a small locker there for your belongings. Okay, so we look forward to having you here. I'm excited. I hope you are too.
What lunch do I have? What are the school lunch options? How do I buy lunch? And can I sit anywhere?
Hi Eagles, it's Miss Rubman. I'm one of the assistant principals here at Klahowya, and I'm so excited that you're gonna be with us. As a 6th grader, you have first lunch. So we have 3 lunches, you have the first one. You can bring a lunch or you can buy a lunch. Your parents can add money to your account, or you can bring cash and you can pay the bookkeeper, Miss Torgerson. You can sit at any table that you like. They're all fantastic. There is pizza on the menu every day, and there's also a salad bar, but every day there's some other options too, like hamburgers but nachos are usually the best bet.
Is there a recess?
Hi everyone, I'm Miss Smedley and I'm the Dean of Students. Once you're done eating, there are multiple options. You can go outside where there's a basketball hoop, you can throw a football, kick a soccer ball, and there's a really cool wooded area to play in. Your second option is you can go up to the library, and your third option is you can just hang out with your friends at your table.
What if I am late to class? How do I get from one end of the building to the other and still be on time?
Hello, future Eagles. Welcome to Klahowya. Hey, I'm Mr. Mullich. You have 5 minutes. It's been tested many times that you will be able to walk from one end of the building to the other in 5 minutes. So at a normal pace, you can make it. But if you happen to be late because of something that comes up, your teacher will understand. Be honest with them. And the main thing is that you don't make a habit of it, and you'll be fine.
How do I get good grades? Are classes hard? How much homework will I have?
Hello, future 6th grade Eagles. I'm Mrs. Osborne, and I teach ELA, and I am here to talk to you about a couple of questions you asked. The first two are classes hard, and how do you get good grades? Well, simple. Do your best. Stay organized and focused and ask a lot of questions. Your teachers are here to help you, and we all want you to succeed. We really try to keep homework to a minimum, so we do a lot of work in class. So stay on top of your classwork. I hope that helps.
Where is the library, and when can I check out books?
I'm Mr. Backlund, your librarian and media specialist, and the library is directly across the hallway from the 6th grade pod, so you're going to be able to find us pretty darn easily. We are open before school, after school, during passing times, and at lunch for any time that you want to come. Just kind of hang out, chill, talk, play some chess, get on the flight simulators, or most importantly, check out a really good book. So when you get to school, come check us out.
What about PE clothes? How long will I have to get dressed? Is there privacy in the locker room?
Hey there, incoming 6th graders. My name is Eddie Belote, one of the PE teachers at Klahowya Secondary School. Excited to see you. A couple questions I've been asked to answer, one being about what you wear. Just simple shorts, shirt, and shoes that are really comfortable. We will cover this before you begin a PE class. Been asked about privacy in the locker rooms. Absolutely. Complete privacy. We do have a boys and a girls separate locker room. And then finally, how long do you have to get dressed? As quickly as you can. Okay, usually we give you about 4 minutes, but we like you to get dressed as quickly as you can so we can get our stuff going for the day, and we don't want to spend our time in the locker room. Looking forward to seeing you in class and at Klahowya. Have a good day.
What sports and clubs can I participate in? How do I get involved?
Hi, future Eagles. I'm Mrs. Torgerson, the ASB bookkeeper and athletics secretary at Klahowya. As a 6th grader, you will be able to participate in track, wrestling, and cross country. You and your parents will need to fill out paperwork, and you can get the forms online or from me at the bookkeeping window. We also have clubs you can join, like Art Club, Video and Guitar Club, Junior Honor Society, ASB, Garden Club, Science Club, Drama, and History Club. I look forward to seeing you in the fall.
Are older high school students nice? Will I have classes with them?
They are nice, but you won't have classes with them this year. The only time you'll see older kids is during passing periods, in the halls, before and after school, and at assemblies.
What if I am sick and miss school? Where do I go if I'm late for school?
Hi, future 6th graders. Welcome to your new Klahowya family. I'm Mrs. Dino, the attendance secretary, and you can find me in the main office. If you are sick, make sure your parents excuse it by calling, emailing, or sending a note to school with you. Don't forget to talk to your teachers about the work you missed. If you are late, the only way into the building is through our security vestibule. Make sure to have a note from your parent if you are to be excused. You will check in with me in the main office and get a pass to class. If you need to leave early, the best way is to bring me a note first thing in the morning, and I will give you a pass to leave school early. Otherwise, I will need to hear from your parent at least 30 minutes prior to your leaving. Have your parents check out the attendance page on the Klahowya website, since things are done a little differently from the elementary schools. Looking forward to seeing you. Go Eagles.
How do I know what bus I ride? Where will I catch the bus after school?
Good morning. Hi, future Eagles. I'm Mr. Winters, and I'm one of the reading teachers at Klahowya. Your parents will need to go online and visit the Central Kitsap School District website. On that site, you will be able to find where your bus stop is and what time your bus will arrive at that stop. In the back of the school where the bus actually drops you off in the morning is where you'll catch it. It's also the same place that you'll get to go outside during your lunchtime. I'm looking forward to seeing you in the fall.
Will I get a Chromebook? What happens if it glitches?
Mr. Backlund, your library media specialist here again. And yes, you're going to be getting Chromebooks very soon. And you're going to be using those in every single one of your classes, and problems are going to arise. And if that happens, don't be afraid. Just come on down to the library. We'll fix it for you if we can. If we can't, we're going to have to send it off, but we'll get you a replacement in the meantime. So we are all things Chromebooks in the library.
Who do I go to if I have a problem?
Hello, Future Eagles. This is Mrs. Langeth, the counselor at Klahowya. Well, really, any adult in the building can help you with your problems. However, we have counselors at Klahowya that will help you with anything that you're struggling with. Maybe you're having a hard time in one of your classes. Maybe things at home are kind of rough. Or maybe you're having an issue with a friend. You guys aren't getting along so well. We would love to help support you through any of these problems and help you come up with a good solution. Your counselors will be located in the Student Service Center, so come and see us on your first day at Klahowya.
We are so excited to have you as a Klahowya Eagle. We hope this video answers some common questions and helped alleviate some anxieties with the 6th grade transition. If there's anything we can do to assist you, please don't hesitate to contact us. We look forward to meeting you in the fall.
Well, I have to do a big shout out to all of our staff who participated in making that video. I think it's just wonderful to be able to highlight all the wonderful stuff we've got going across our schools. So with that, I'm going to jump back in. Sorry about the share and reshare. As we do this, I find that if I don't do that, what happens is it's hard for you guys to read the video. So, or read the screens when they come up. So let's talk a little bit about the typical daily schedule. So most or all of our 6th graders, when they come into school, they have 6 classes, and we call those class periods. And so those are going to be spots where they transition and they actually move between classrooms to go to different teachers. Now at the 6th grade level, that looks a little bit different than it does in the upper grades. Language arts and social studies are blocked in 6th grade. So typically that means you have the same teacher for both language arts and social studies. So that means instead of having to switch rooms for those 2 periods, you get to stay in the same spot with the same teacher, okay? Another thing, all of our 6th graders have science and math. And one thing I'll say about math classes is that we do our best to try and level those out with student ability. I think this year's been a really tough year to get good data in terms of student performance and where kids are at. So we will do our best with what we have. A lot of that comes from current teacher recommendations. So if you have any questions on math placement of your 5th grader, please talk with your current teacher. They have the biggest input in terms of what is given to us in terms of when kids come into the school. So anyway, all 6th graders have language arts, social studies. So English and history is a way to think about that. And then science and math. All of our 6th graders also take a class called Eagle 101 and PE. And those are a half a year each. And so Eagle 101 is a class that's kind of like, how in the heck do you be a middle schooler? Helps you do a little bit of organization, maybe a little bit of typing skills. There might be some other things that are in that class as well. And so we have that for half a year. And then the other half of the year is PE. And now 6th grade PE tends to be just with 6th graders. So we try and cluster our 6th graders all together in a PE class. That way you're not with the seniors or something like that. It's all 6th graders. Now, sometimes the order of those switch. So sometimes you do have PE first and then Eagle 101 later, but we do our best to try and get as many kids in the first semester as we can. Then we get to the electives, and that's the part I know everybody has all sorts of questions about in terms of what are the fun classes. And then the other thing that we have is an advisory class. An advisory class, the way to think about that is a homeroom. In the elementary level, you have a main teacher, and that becomes your kind of main person that you keep coming back to. An advisory class is the same idea. In that place is a place where we might have conversations. We might check in with you on how you're doing academically. We might even have some time to help you, maybe kind of like a study hall environment, that type of stuff, to try and give you some help. So it depends on the day of the week and what that looks like, but we'll be working on that when we get in the fall. Typically, we have 5 minutes between classes. Mr. Mullich said that earlier in the video. And I can assure you, we try and cluster our 6th grade classrooms pretty close together. And a lot of times those classes are like right next door to each other. So 5 minutes is a lot of time. That gives you enough time to go to the bathroom, that type of stuff, or quickly stop by the library in between and then go back to class. If you do have to walk across the building, 5 minutes is plenty of time to get there. Also during the day, we typically have lunch. Lunch is set up as a 30-minute time period. And so what that looks like, usually the first part of lunch, we have students get a lunch and they actually do need to sit down. They got to find a spot to eat. What we find with middle school students is they're so excited to see each other and the opportunity to go outside and do stuff that if they don't have to have a few minutes to sit down and eat, then they just don't eat. So we are really intentional about that and saying, hey, the first 15 minutes or so of lunch, they've got to be able to sit down and actually eat something. At which point then we do open up outside. We've got basketballs and Foursquare, and we've got some games and stuff outside to go do. Now, that being said, some people decide they just want to sit and talk with their friends in that other 15 minutes, and that's totally fine too. And so we do have some things that happen at lunch. And then sometimes throughout the year, the classes and the order might change, okay? And so we have quarters and semesters. And so I'm going to show you a couple of examples here that will help explain this, okay? So one of the things is that we have a lot of students that are interested in band, choir, or orchestra, okay? So playing an instrument like the saxophone or the clarinet or the drums. I know all you parents out there are ready for some drum percussionists. I'm sorry, I can't call them drummers. So So if students want to sign up for music, then they'd sign up for music, and that's an entire year. Choir is in our day. So I know at the elementary level, a lot of times choir is a club that takes place outside of the school day. And so here at the middle level and high school, it's actually a class during the day. So you can take choir, and then orchestra would be like learning the violin or the cello, that type of thing. And so if you chose that, that's a year-long class. And then you can see I've color-coded this to think about different teachers. And so you're going to notice at the top of the chart from September through January, you might be in Eagle 101. And then halfway through the year, we switch classes, and then you don't go to Eagle 101 anymore. You go to PE now. Okay. And so that's called a semester. Okay. You'll see that language arts and social studies, it's the same teacher all year long. Sometime in the middle of the day, we've got lunch, and I'm not quite sure where Academy is going to fall in the schedule next year, but this is just a hypothetical. I was putting something together. And so here it shows it kind of in the middle of the day where you see your Academy teacher. And then 5th period would be math and 6th period would be science. Now, keep in mind that the order of these classes could totally be different than what I'm showing you. This is just an example of what a student schedule would look like if they had band, choir, or orchestra. If we go to an elective rotation, which is a little bit different, we're going to look at this one. And what happens here is depending on who I have as staff and what they're available, then we have certain electives. Usually we have things like art or drama or things like that. And sometimes we do have a music class that's in there as one of those elective options. It kind of depends on the year in terms of what we have available. In this model, you can see that the elective one goes September through November, and then we go into the next one from November through January. So it's a little bit shorter time frame. And we do that in the elective world to give students more of a taste of things, to try and find things that they're interested in. And what happens then is students don't get to pick those individual electives, they get to do all 4 of them. And we have groups that rotate then through those electives. So by the end of the year, you get to go through all 4 of the options that we offer for our 6th graders. So each year the elective options change just a little bit, but a lot of times I can tell you drama and art are pretty consistent. When I have the counselors talk, they might also reference some of the other options that we've done in the past too, okay? So I'm gonna hand this off. Give me 1 second. I just realized I turned off Miss Langus' ability to unmute herself. So I'm going to hand it off to Miss Langeth, and she's going to chat for a minute.
That's convenient, trying to mute me so I can't ever speak. Just kidding. I always have a lot to say. Okay, so I just wanted to share what counselors do Some of you may have had a counselor in your elementary school, and maybe you haven't. So Mr. Mcdaniel, if you could put the bullets up there. So some of the things that counselors do in secondary school and at Klahowya is we will help you pick your classes. We will schedule your classes. So when you get older and you have more choices in your what classes to take, we will be guiding you through making good choices based on your abilities, your interests, and what your future plans are. You know, we do a lot of social emotional support. If anybody's ever had a conflict with a friend or a peer or a family member or a teacher or anyone, you know, that happens a lot. It's really normal, and it's a big deal, and we work through that with you. So that's one thing that we help students with. So really any type of problem you have, we're here to support you. And like I said, we are here. We have Mr. Miles is our career counselor, and we can help guide you on your future plans and help you to create, you know, the best high school experience so that when you graduate from high school in 7 years after being at Klahowya, that you will be ready for your next future plans. And then if you need any support, if you're struggling with any mental health or poverty or homelessness, or things are just tight at home and you need a little extra support, we have a lot of resources that we can connect families with. So please, families, don't hesitate to reach out. We really want to know how we can support you. A good place if your child is struggling is just to call us or email us and say, what do I do? And if, you know, if it's a teacher issue, we might direct you there, but if it's something we can support you with, we are happy to do that. So that's a little bit about what counselors do in the secondary level. Next slide. Okay, so this is the question of the day. What are the choices that you have for your elective rotation? So we have band, orchestra, or choir. And we also have the Unified Arts Rotation, which is a little taste of a bunch of different things like cooking or art or drama or technology. Or this year we've had a financial literacy, so learning about being smart with your money and a keyboarding component of that. So Spanish, sometimes you have Spanish class. So it's just a lot of different things you get to try. Now, our music, our district music teachers in middle school have created some Google Classrooms for you to find out more information about band and orchestra or choir. And the links are right here. You could write them down real quick, or this is going to be posted on our website so you can reference it after tomorrow once we get it posted on there. But there's some really neat videos on there about students and their experience with their music program, and just to see if this is something you really want to dive into, and it can help you answer some of those questions. So correct me if I'm wrong, but I think an email went out from the district on the 10th, which was a week ago. I don't know if you all have gotten that. I saw one family ask the question about that. So Mr. Mcdaniel, want to say something more about that?
Yeah, so I believe that something has come out already. So please double check your emails, especially your spam folders, just to make sure that you haven't received it. It is a link to a Google form that then you're able to put in information for your student. If you have trouble, send us an email afterwards and we'll locate it. But I believe that was directly emailed out to all families. I believe it was to the email on record that you get school messengers from the school. So for families, that's the one that you should be looking at. Also, students, I'd recommend you check your district email as well, because sometimes we copy students on that communication and it goes right to you. Okay. I did see a question in the chat about start and end times. And so in a normal year, we start at 7:50 and then we're done at 2:35. And that's on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday. Thursday used to be an early release with students getting out at 1:05. I'm not sure yet what our hours are going to be next fall. So that's why it's not in the presentation today. Until we get final resolution as to what the board is looking at, kind of the next steps, I am just like you, anxiously waiting to make sure I know the times. I would presume we'll be pretty close to the same as what you're seeing or what we just described there. But of course, I don't have the final times yet. So the good news is you have kind of a rough idea as to what it might look like. The bad news for some of our incoming sixth graders, I know some of you live a long ways out. And so sometimes that bus ride can be a little while. So it means that early morning, have to get used to that. I would, as a parent, recommend invest in that alarm clock, either alarm clock or charge that cell phone and get that thing going. So, but having something to get good routines set up for kids as they start up in the fall is definitely essential, because it's definitely a new start time, much earlier than the elementary will. So, and bus pickup times are variable. Even in CBEC, we've got some routes that are only 15 minutes from us, and then we've got others that are 45, 50 minutes at the most. So I would highly recommend, as we get into the summer, to check our district website under transportation. You can actually look up your bus route and see how far out it is. It'll actually pick up and drop off times, week, and so forth. So next year, we are really hoping that we're going to be able to hold on to the activity buses that started up this year. That might offer some chance for students to stay after school for some clubs and activities, but that's another thing. I just don't know yet the final word as to if that's going to happen next year or even what the times will be. So lots is still to be determined as we get closer to the fall. I'm going to keep going and then we'll pause for more questions here. Oh, there we go. Okay, so sixth graders, I know you guys are excited to get involved in sports. And so with that, we've got a number of sports that are happening. One is track and field that happens from September through October. Okay. And then we have wrestling that takes place from January through March. And then we have cross country that runs April through June. Okay. And so for clubs, we have all sorts of clubs. We have art, video and guitar club, garden club, drama club, junior honor society, science, history club, ASB, and there's even more than that. I can't list them all. If you have an idea, so let's say you're like, oh, I really want to have an anime club. Well, guess what? That's a possibility. There's a process that we have in the building that you talk to Miss Torgerson in the main office. She'll help you get set up and all the steps that you need to do. But usually we have you get a group of students together that want to do it. We have a staff member. We got to find a staff member to supervise you and set up the time to do it. And then there's a process to go through that, okay? One thing that I did want to highlight for sports, for all families, for parents that are out there, if your student is interested in doing sports, so track and field, wrestling, or cross country, they do have to get a sports physical. I would recommend doing that sooner rather than later. So those sports physicals are good for 1 calendar year or 2 calendar years, I'm sorry. And so if you get it now, it's going to be good for all next year. If you wait until August to try and get this, you're going to be competing with all the high school students and every school in the state, all trying to get in for medical appointments at the same time. So I recommend, if you're interested, get that done earlier rather than later, okay? Okay. So with this, there's a couple other things I've got to tell you, and then I'm going to pause for questions, okay? So summer plans. This summer is really exciting. We are going to be offering week-long summer camps. And so those are going to be happening on the Klahowya campus. And the idea is that we are excited to give kids the chance to connect with educational programs that they're excited about. Special education services are going to be included in that, and we're going to be on the Klahowya campus. So I think there's a different camp or a different set of camps almost every week in July. So you can sign up, I think, for more than one. Here soon, you're going to have more details that are going to be coming out to you via email, but it's a great opportunity for kids to be able to get connected and get involved with some stuff. I can tell you, I believe these are free as well, which is just a blessing for parents. So with that, make sure to check it out when you see this information. Lots of really cool opportunities, things like hiking in the woods, doing things in the gyms, robotics, ROVs, like there's all sorts of stuff people are talking about doing. So you'll see lots of options here coming up soon, okay? One last thing, or one of the other things I want to highlight, is we have a program called Where Everybody Belongs. And it happens to be that we had a couple of our advisors here. And so one of you want to talk about this, or do you want me to take it?
I nominate Miss Costello.
Thank you, Mrs. Lincoln. So WEB, Where Everybody Belongs, is an organization that allows you, sixth graders, invite you to come in a day early before school starts for a day that's just for you. And the reason we do that is because we know that you want to see things like the inside of the school and where your classes are. And
did we lose her?
I think we
and
just
you need new process as sixth graders. So they are going to be leading your groups. And we're there to help you through that process. It's a great day. You meet people, you get to know the school. And by the time the first day of school comes, you are so ready for that first day of school and completely comfortable. You know where all your classes are. You've met some new friends. You've seen some old friends. And you've met some staff members. You know where everything's located. So that's where WEB begins. And then we also have activities throughout the year that help you feel like you are part of the Klahowya community, a very important part of the Klahowya community. And that's the whole concept of where everyone belongs.
Thank you, Ms. Costello. You froze up there in the middle for a minute, but I think we heard it all. It came out. So those things happen. So I have to say, if there's one thing as a parent that I would encourage you to have your students do, it's to attend this date. So we call this a soft start for sixth graders. It gives them a chance to come into the school without any other students there, other than their WEB mentors. And they get to see the school, learn their schedule, do some icebreakers, meet some friends. There's all sorts of great stuff that happens. And so please put this on your calendar the day before school starts in the fall, August 31st, that morning time slot. We definitely want to see your students there. Typically, we set up buses so that students have an opportunity to get in, but if you can drop off, that's great as well. Typically, it is just the students that attend. I know that's really hard as a parent because we want to go too, but usually we have the students come in, and it is an action-packed and fun day for them. So now parents, at 12 p.m., if you wanted to pick up your students and have them give you a tour at noon, sounds amazing. I think that's an even better way to do it, because then they can teach you all the stuff that they learned that morning. So the building will be open in the afternoon if you want to do a walkabout and get your feet underneath you as a parent. So, okay. So let's pause here, and I'm going to ask, what in the heck do you have? What other questions do we have? I know there's got to be some other things out there. You need to put it in the chat. You can wave your arms around and I can unmute you. Or you can raise your hand down at the bottom. I think under participants, there's a spot where you can raise your hand if you want to ask your question, but you can just type it in the chat too.
We have a question, Mr. McDaniel. What is a flight simulator?
So flight simulators, we in the past have run an aviation program here at the school where students learn the basics of flight. And so they would actually sit in front of a computer and pretend it is a simulator where it simulates that you're actually flying an airplane. And so you learn how to fly an airplane. Now, that being said, I don't have the class running next year, but I will tell you in the library, we are going to have a really cool makerspace, and it has a couple of flight simulators in that space. So if you have an interest there, we can have you stop by the library and talk with our librarian or media specialist, Mr. Backlund. I'm sure he would love to get you connected with those and to check it out. They are really cool, a lot of fun.
We have a question, is orchestra for the full year? And I want to answer that. All of our sixth grade electives are intended to be full year classes. Orchestra, band, and choir are full year with that respective teacher. Unified Arts typically has a rotation of 3 to 5 teachers, depending upon the breakdown, the number of students that request Unified Arts, and as Mr. McDaniel said, which teachers are available for which subtopics.
So I see a couple of other questions here. So health class. So in sixth grade, we have some required health curriculum that actually happens in just about every grade going up through high school. In many cases, that is done in science classes. Typically what happens, the school sends out notification to families to let you know it's coming. There's actually a curriculum preview opportunity, at which point then parents can make a decision on whether to participate or not. So usually that happens sometime in the spring. And so you have a couple opportunities to kind of take a look at materials and so forth. So there's that. And by law, it is required for us to give that to all students unless parents do go through the process if they want to be exempted. Okay. For Chromebooks, we have an event in summer called Flight Path. And unfortunately, I don't have the date set yet for Flight Path. But Flight Path is where you come to the school and you can bring your parents and you can pick up your Chromebook, and sometimes we'll have textbooks and stuff for you to get, or books. It's also a chance, if we're ready by Flight Path, to have your schedule all ready, and then you can actually walk the building even before the web day to kind of check out the lay of the land. Now that being said, I'm not totally sure on the date yet. Usually that's towards the end of August, not as late as August 31st. August 31st, we intentionally do to make sure that our sixth graders are really comfortable before that first day of school. So the web day is very much focused on stories and making social connections and friendships and so forth on that day before school. Okay. But that's Flight Path is where you pick up your Chromebook. Now, if for some reason you're gone over the summer and you can't come to Flight Path, no worries. First day of school, when you come, you're going to say, I don't have a Chromebook, and we're going to go, hey, let's go get you a Chromebook. And then we check it out to you. Typically, we want our sixth graders to have a Chromebook, and you're going to hold it until we get to your senior year. Sometimes we upgrade them in between when you get them in the senior year. So it's one of those things where we do want students to really take care of them. The district does repairs on the first one, but if we have things where we have repeated, let's say broken screens or things like that, then of course we do have to ask for some financial help. But usually the first repair is free. Now the Chromebooks that we're buying are not the first generation of Chromebooks. These are like third or fourth generation now, and they are ruggedized. So that means that they are much better at withstanding accidental things that happen. But for all the students on here, I'm going to tell you, you still have to take care of them. So you need to put them in your bags and not be walking around with them open, things like that. And then also when you get home at night, we want you to charge them because the batteries are really good on the Chromebooks. They last about 8 hours, but that's only if you charge the battery. If you come to school with it not charged, it doesn't work nearly as well because then it dies in the middle of the day. So charge them every night. Okay, what happens is on the buses, our middle school students and high school students do end up riding together. And so what we often find is that our sixth graders sit towards the front of the bus. They all sit kind of with each other, and then often it kind of works back in grade levels. Sometimes students have siblings that are older and then they choose to sit with them. But a lot of times the younger students will sit towards the front and the older students will sit towards the back. And my recommendation as principal, as sixth graders starting up next year, you should be sitting towards the front of the bus. So you don't have to be in the front seat, but maybe in the first 5 rows or so, you want to be towards the front, okay? As we get to the fall, thinking about COVID, we're going to have to see what the state guidelines are in terms of what the expectations are. Right now, what the regulations say is that students are masked and they've got to be 3 feet apart in classrooms and 6 feet apart in the hallways and also in the lunchroom. So if we go into the fall with those sorts of expectations, the day will look pretty different than normal. It's my anticipation that things will change before the fall. So So I'm hesitant to say exactly what it's going to look like. I will tell you, we do things right now where we're checking students in each day, taking their temperature. We're also using hand sanitizer as students are going into classrooms and out of classrooms. So there's a lot of protocols we have in place right now. And so some of those may be still in place in the fall. We'll have to kind of see where we're at as the summer progresses, okay? In Unified Arts, just to clarify, students do not get to pick the electives in Unified Arts, okay? If they're going to take Unified Arts, they take all the electives that we offer sixth graders. It comes as a package. It's an all or none deal. So they either take music or they agree to take all the electives. Typically that might include like art and drama. And then there's probably going to be a couple other things, but I don't know exactly what they're going to be yet until we get to the fall. And a lot of that depends on who I have as staff and who's available to teach classes. Sometimes I've seen like a robotics program for sixth graders. This year we're doing a financial literacy program. It kind of depends on what's happening in the building and who's got some availability to pick that up, okay? Making your own club, usually what that means is you'd want to find 4 or 5 other students that want to start a club with you. And so you kind of band together, and then if you stop by the office and talk with Miss Torgerson, she has a form that she'll probably make you do to get that started. And usually what happens is you've got to find a staff member who's interested in supporting your club or supervising it. And then it actually goes before our ASB, which is the Associated Student Body, and they actually review it and take a vote to see if they're going to grant it club status. So there's a process that has to happen. But once that happens, then we can actually set up a time for your club to meet on campus and do that type stuff, okay? I see what time is web. And so the main web day is 8 to noon on August 31st. After that point, then there's going to be some web activities and web events that'll happen throughout the year. Some of those will be during advised or the academy time period. There will be others that might take place after school for social events or things like that. We don't have all those listed out yet, but as the year progresses, we put those in the daily announcements, and we also advertise pretty heavily to get our sixth graders to be able to come. Plus, a lot of times the web mentors, they actually pick up the phone and they call you and they say, hey, come do this thing with me. I want, let's go to a basketball game together, or things like that. So that they actually do some invites, okay? Usually classes are around 15 minutes long. And so typically we've got 5 minutes between classes, and then they go in for about 50 minutes, maybe 55 minutes, kind of depends on the schedule for the day. And then we kind of progress throughout the day. Academy typically is about 30 minutes. It's a little bit shorter than a regular class period. And then lunch is also about 30 minutes, okay? Looking here. Oh, unfortunately, I would love for you guys to have as much fill as you wanted at the salad bar and the lunchroom, but unfortunately, the salad bar is a one-time through. So at lunch, each time you go through the line, they do expect payment for lunch. Now, that being said, this year and half of last year, we've not charged anyone for lunches. And so who knows what's going to happen next fall? Things may be different than what they were, but typically when you go through the lunch line, you do have to pay for each lunch. I know sixth graders are really excited to try all the food. And a word of warning to parents, okay, as they get started, sometimes they get a little lunch happy and they want to try like 2 or 3 lunches. So I would encourage you to check their lunch balance and kind of watch that. Also, I would set clear boundaries about if it's okay for them to buy lunch for their friends, because I've encountered that as well, where they're trying to be a really good friend to someone and they're buying lunch for a friend, and suddenly a parent goes, why am I out of money in this lunch account? So have that conversation as a parent with your student. So let me see here. On web day, I don't think you need to bring anything, just yourself in a really excited attitude and ready to go on those days. Bells, oh, that's a good question. So I've been at schools with bells before. Do you know right now we have very few bells. In many schools that I've been at, we have not had any bells. I would anticipate as we get to the fall that there may be a few, but I don't think you're going to have a ton of them. What I find from a principal standpoint to all the parents out in the audience is when we have lots of bells, what bells do is they encourage students to run to classes and to kind of be panicked all the time. And without bells, people just get to where they need to go. So often what we do is we have something at the end of a period to designate, hey, it's the end of the period. We got to get going. But maybe nothing at the beginning. So we're going to have to talk a little bit more about that as we get to the fall, but likely you'll hear some bells, but not like every 5 or 10 minutes. So let me look here. I see some of the questions have been answered. Yep, in older siblings, you'll ride the same bus as them. And in classrooms, it depends on the classroom. Mostly our classes are around 30 students. Sometimes we can have a few more than that, but most of the time it's under. Now, 6th grade, it's a little bit smaller. We try and keep 6th grade at around 26 is our number, 26 to 28. So we try and keep it a little bit smaller than some of our high school classes, okay? And I'm looking here. I'm not sure about that question. That came from Mackenzie's iPad. I think I'd want to talk to you guys separately to get more info on that. So I'm going to hold off on that one. If you guys want to stay after, I'm happy to try and answer it, but I don't know if I have enough context. And clubs, we do have high school clubs. We also have middle school clubs, and some are for all grades. So there's that. And then cell phones, great question. So and I'm going to speak really candidly here as principal, okay? I have 2 kids of my own, one of which is in middle school already and one soon to be in middle school. And I will tell you that students, as they come up into middle school, they're going to tell every parent on the screen, everyone has a cell phone. And I'm going to tell you, it's not true, okay? We have lots of kids who have devices that don't work and they carry them because they want to appear as though they have something. We have some kids that have something like a touch that's not a cell phone, but it's a small computer that can use Wi-Fi to communicate. And then we do have some students that do have cell phones, and we respect parents' decision to make that choice. When students are in classes, typically in the middle level, phones are off, and they're not using them in class because we have Chromebooks that we use. We don't need cell phones to be on during the day. In many cases, from my perspective as principal, I will tell you they are a bigger distraction than what they're worth at the middle levels. So we do expect students when they come into the building, at least at the middle level, they need to be turning those things off and focus on their coursework. So please don't feel you have to cave to have a personal electronic device. We are solving that problem by handing every student a Chromebook so they can get work done. And so there's the kind of straight answer for that one, okay? School dances. So ASB often has events that they run. Sometimes that includes dances. I think as a school, we're talking more and more about what opportunities can we provide for middle school instead of middle school and high school. High school has a number of opportunities, but we're trying to increase some of our middle school opportunities. So I'm excited for that. I doubt you'll see just a 6th grade dance. Often if we did it, it probably would be like a middle school dance maybe. But if we did it, we'd have a lot of 6th graders come. A lot of times what I see as principals that we tend to shy away from like full-blown dances until kids get to high school. Instead, we might call it a social event. And what that means is there might be music and stuff going on, but there's also games and food and things going on for kids. That's more of a social event. So a lot of times kids go, I don't know how to dance. Well, you don't have to know how to dance. I'll tell you, most 6th graders, when they come into school, they have no idea how to dance. It's all about just hanging out with friends and talking and hanging out. So there's that, okay? I see Ms. Farnham answered the club question. Clubs are open to anyone that wants to join once the club gets created, okay? Student lunch accounts, Ms. Farnham, I don't know if you can grab the link to that and post it in the chat, but on our district webpage, we do have our school lunch program. And so you can actually sign up for free or reduced lunch there. We encourage families, if you need financial assistance, please do it. It helps you and it helps us as a school district. And then if you want to go ahead and pay for lunches, you can actually load your lunch account electronically. And so that can either be done, you can send students with either cash or check, but if they do that, they have to go to our bookkeeper. It is very convenient for families because we do take electronic payments now that you can do remotely. You don't even have to come into the school. So you can just get into their account and go ahead and get it set up. So, so there's that. I see Ms. Barnum talked about student numbers. That's the same student number that they use in elementary is what they use at the middle school and the high school. So memorizing that student number is really important. When they get up to high school, we do have a number of conventional things like homecoming and dances and so forth. But those are not things that sixth graders typically go to. We save that for the high school experience. So there's that. And of course, I'm seeing lots of people saying they didn't get the email. So we're going to do some follow-up. That must not have gone out yet. I thought it was going to be out by now. So evidently it has not gone out, but I'm guessing any day now you're going to see that come into your email box. Also with Chromebooks, you can change your password, and I highly recommend that you do that. So as soon as you get it, you can go into ClassLink and change your login in ClassLink, and it will change your password. And that means that nobody else will know how to get into your Chromebook except for yourself. You can actually do that right now on your ClassLink account if you're at school using a school device. So highly recommend doing that. It just gives you another piece of account security, okay? Whew, that was a lot of questions. So I'll pause there just for another minute. See if there's any others. Miss Langeth or Miss Barnum, Mr. Mullich, I don't know if you guys have any other things that you want to throw out there.
We had a question about the link to paying for student lunches and putting money on it. So now that my screen is not frozen, I'll get that link in there so that you can access it. We also had a question about students using their own personal computers or laptops. Mr. McDaniel, are you okay answering that?
Yeah, so I would ask if we have a need for a personal device. Before we go down that path, I would prefer to have some sort of conversation with families just to make sure we're on the same page. I have made exceptions to using our device in the past, but there are some problems that come with it. So one thing that I can tell you that will happen is that your student will not be able to print at all on our campus because they're using a personal device. When they have a district issued Chromebook, we allow them to print at our printers. So that's a big barrier. The second part is when they have technical trouble at home, at school, or even at home, we can't help them because it's not our device. So simple things that we do at school, like students are having trouble with Wi-Fi or a key is sticky or something happened. We have the ability to try and help them at school, and we successfully help them a lot. And so there are some good reasons, I think, to use that district issued Chromebook. But if you really want to use a different device, please reach out. You can send me an email or give us a call in the main office, and one of us will get back to you and we'll have a chat and kind of talk through it. Ms. Langeth?
I want to answer this question that came up in the chat. Do sixth grade band students get to play at the same events as the high school kids, football games, parades, etc.? We have a specific band, a pet band that plays at our events, and those are usually high school students. But one really fun thing about being a secondary school is if you have an ASB card, you can buy that at the beginning of the year at Flight Path, and that's how you participate in sports and clubs and activities. If you have an ASB card, you can go to all of our high school games for free. You just show your ASB card and you get in. So when we have football games and soccer and track and swim meets, those things, you get to come to those as a Klahowya student. So that's kind of a cool thing that not all middle school kids get to say that they get to do, go to the high school games and events.
So I'm answering a question from Violet about changing your password in ClassLink. So on a district Chromebook, you would log in and open up ClassLink. Once you open up ClassLink, you click your profile picture, which is, I think, in the upper right-hand corner of ClassLink. And then underneath that, it says change password. And if you do that, it changes your password on all district accounts for you, okay? So that's how you do it. It's super simple. It's super easy. So that's the way to get in to do it, okay? Looking, any other questions here?
Mr. McDaniel, we had a question that I'm not typing fast enough to answer regarding when a student reaches high school, does Klahowya offer the same types of typical homecoming, Tolo, prom, dances, etc.? The answer is yes, absolutely. Our high school sports and clubs are similar to what you would have at any high school in our district, as is the case for homecoming, Tolo, prom, and the various social events that high school students participate in.
So someone had a question on sports, and so we do have boys soccer at the high school level. None of our middle schools in the district have boys soccer, so that's not unusual. No one in our league actually has boys soccer at the middle level, so that's a high school sport. And part of the reason for that is federal law has a law called Title IX, and Title IX has participation for both boys and girls. And so one of the reasons why there's no boys soccer is because we need more girls to play sports. So if we can get more girls to play sports, then we have more opportunities that happen all over the place. So, so that's that. So students always will have the ability to wear masks, in my opinion, at this point. If things change really drastically, we might move away from it. But I can tell you, if students are feeling more comfortable wearing a mask in the fall, we will make provisions for them to have that safety measure. And that's in contrast. I think 2 years ago, before the pandemic, we would have been no mask, no mask. We want to see who you are. But I think the safety component right now it trumps in terms of the health safety, the other part that we were worried about. So we will be talking more about that, but we'll have provisions on that, okay? So one last thing I wanted to highlight, and then I'm going to wrap us up for the evening, is the fact that we are super excited to have you at our school. Klahowya is a family. We're a family of staff. We're a family of students. And I know many of our families have been with us a long time. And I have to tell you, coming from outside of Klahowya, the thing that I have seen just immediately is that Klahowya is really special because of 7 years, okay? There's almost no other school in the state where you get to come in as a sixth grader and you get to know the staff and the principal and your media specialist and the other kids that you're going to be with for 7 years, and then you get to graduate with them. So that's a really exciting thing. So with that, I want to thank you so much for coming this evening. I would say if we didn't answer your question, or if you do have questions, please reach out. My email is scottmcd at ckschools.org. And you can catch us all on our school webpage. You can get us there. But I do want to thank you so much for joining us tonight. And once again, if you didn't get your question answered, please reach out to us. We'll get back to you. And I wish you all a wonderful evening. So thank you so much.